Yeah, that's why I stand under it. The vents are literally going right here. It's only good in the winter. You know, it's like
Just move right there.
cold air, great. Direct on you cold air, no thanks. Oh, they're doing kids. Yeah, they're doing kids. So this morning begins the long string of other teachers than Rafer, and I am super pumped about it. And so, being that Risk is the one person, or like, I've been here for 3 of the 8 people who are teaching, but I'm here today and I need something to do. So, I'm going to introduce Risk to you guys.
So everybody.
Risk is a little nervous, but she'll be fine. Huh?
I should.
You should. Could you imagine it's like Savage remix?
Yeah, it would be too.
Straight up.
It would be, and I just come out the back, just like, yeah.
Like, dang, hips TikTok when I dance. Dang, okay. Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, Risk is gonna do her thing. And I'm super excited for her. So, the floor is yours.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm super nervous, but that's all right because y'all are my people. So we'll just do this together. How's everybody today? Checking in? Good? Good? Cool. Yeah, this has been really cool to prepare for in general. I was telling Rafer, also, I feel like I have to speak so loud. Okay, good. But I feel like I need, like, y'all can hear me? It's good? Cool. You can? Yes? No? Barely? Yeah, that's probably the echo, but it's okay. I was telling Rafer, and a lot of you know this about me, like, I went through a really tough time a few years ago where I just, like, had a really rough patch with the Lord and did not, like, wasn't a Christian for a minute. And in that, like, I really lost my, like, love and trust for the Bible. So these past, like, 3 years now have been, like, regaining that. And, like, that has been so sweet to just learn again who he is. But my, like, word for the, like, my trust for the physical word has been slow growing. So I was really scared in preparing for this. And even first cracking it open, I was like, dang, this is, like, what I knew it would. I felt so, like, triggered, for lack of better words. Like, this is, like, what I have feared. Like, it's just a lot of jargon, which is not true. But just sharing how I felt at the beginning. But, like, digging through this, like, the word of God, we're going to, like, talk about it, but it is so alive and it is so true. And, like, stripped down, it's saying so little and so much. So I'm excited to share with you guys, like, the things that I learned from this, but it's just been a cool journey of, like, seeing that Jesus is good in every way, and that his word is also so trustworthy and so good. But yeah, so that's where I've been in preparing for this week. Yeah, but I am a little nervous, but it's all good. I wanted to start out and ask if anybody wanted to share a little bit about last week. I was upstairs with the kids, so I wasn't here for last week, but if nobody wants to share, that's okay as well. We just won't have, like, a little recap. But does anybody want to share a little bit about what they gleaned from the lesson last week? Cool. We'll just get started. I figured that might be the answer. I had actually asked a couple people and they were like, no, I'm good. But that's okay. We'll just jump in. So if you guys have your study guides, we will turn to week 4. Jesus is superior to Moses. And page 27 on that. All right, I'm going to start with just reading the place of the passage and the big picture, and then we'll move into the scripture. So the place of the passage, In Hebrews 3 1 through 6, Jesus is shown to be superior to Moses, one of God's most faithful servants. Jesus is worthy of supreme glory, and that he is the faithful high priest and Son of God. The author exhorts the Christians to respond with faithfulness and perseverance to God's redemptive work. In this section, readers receive their second warning, namely to persevere in the faith, unlike the Exodus generation who hardened their hearts. So the big picture, Hebrews 3, 1, 4 through 13, shows Jesus Christ as the apostle and perfect Son, sent to serve as the faithful high priest. All right. So in our study Bibles, we're going to read through Hebrews 3, 1 through Hebrews 4, 13. So will somebody read Hebrews 3, 1 through 19, and then we'll have somebody else read Hebrews 1 or Hebrews 4, 1 through 13.
Therefore, holy brothers and sisters, who share in the heavenly calling, consider Jesus the apostle and high priest for us. He is faithful to the one who appointed him, just as Moses was in all God's apostles. For Jesus is considered worthy of more glory. For Jesus is considered worthy of more glory than Moses. Just as a builder has more of the water than the officer.
I think you're on track.
For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Now Moses was faithful in all God's promises as servant, testified to the things that were to be spoken later. But Christ is faithful over God's promise as Son, and we are his house. If indeed we hold fast our confidence in our boasting in our the rest of the people of God. Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, on the day of testing in the wilderness. For your fathers put me to test and saw my works for 40 years. Therefore, I was provoked with that generation and said, they always go astray in their heart. They have not known my ways. As I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest. Take care, lest there be in any of you an evil, unbelieving heart leading you to fall away from the living God. But exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. For we have come to share in Christ, and we do hold our original confidence firm to the end. As it is said, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in rebellion. For those who were those who heard and yet rebelled. Was it not all those who left Egypt led by Moses? And whom was he provoked for 40 years? Was it not those who sinned, whose bodies fell in the wilderness? And to whom did he swear that they would not enter his rest, but to those who were disobedient? So we see that they were unable to enter because of unbelief.
Cool.
Therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us fear lest any of you should seem to have failed to reach it. For good news came to us just as to them, but the message they heard did not benefit them, because they were not united by faith with those who listened. For we who have believed enter that rest, as he has said, as I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest. Although his works were finished from the foundation of the world, where he has somewhere spoken of the seventh day in this way. And God rested on the seventh day on his works. And again, in this passage, he said, they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains for some to enter it, and those who formerly received the good news fail to enter because of disobedience, again he appoints a certain day, today, saying, through David so long afterward, in the words already quoted, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken of another day later on. So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God, and whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works as God did with his. Let us therefore strive to enter that rest, so that no one may fall from the same sort of disobedience. For the word of God is living, and if active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of the soul and spirit, of joints and marrow, and discerning the thoughts and the intentions of the heart. And no creature is hidden from his sight, but all are naked, and exposed to the eyes of him who we must give account.
Cool. Thank you both for reading. Yeah, there's like so much going on in there, so much wording in general that it's like hard to like sift through at first. But so much just going on in general. And I told Rafer, I was like, I don't know how you do this every week because you could go 17 million places from those, like that one hefty chunk of scripture. And study Bibles are so cool and it really lets you like dig deep. So we're going to do a little bit of that. Does anybody need a Bible? I should have said that earlier because you can come get one. Doing what I can. I would say Hebrew study guides as well, but I don't see any. Oh, yeah. We out. Talk to a neighbor. We're really not going to use it that much till later, so don't trip. First, I wanted us to look into the first verse. I wanted us to like dig deep into is the verse 1. It says, "Therefore, holy brothers, you who share in a heavenly calling, consider Jesus, the apostle and high priest of our confession, who was faithful to him who appointed him, just as Moses also was faithful in all God's house." So I actually just want us to look up the second word, holy, and it has a 40 next to it. And I also like hate flipping pages and finding it, so it's actually on 1999 if you guys want, some cheats. I was like always the kid in like the Bible study that like couldn't flip fast enough. Literally, Bible drills and stuff, not for me. And everybody would be like, say amen when you find it, but I could never say amen. So I think it is at least. I'm still not there, y'all. I literally am struggling. Oh, okay. I think it's because I thought I was at the end, but I was on a table of contents, and I was like, where is it going? Okay. So if someone will read 40, and then like the first little chunk, and then read where it says be, and it starts with metaphorically, if someone could read both of those.
Sacred, physical, pure, moral, blameless, or religious, ceremony, consecrated, most holy, one thing, saint.
And the next little paragraph as well.
Adjective from Hackle. Any matter of religious awe, explanation, sacrifice, primarily, pure, clean, including the notion of respect and urination.
Yeah. And then B, yeah, where it says metaphorically.
Morally pure, upright, blameless in heart and life, virtuous, holy, generally spoken of those who are purified and sanctified by the influences of the Spirit. This is the same with all who profess the Christian name.
Yeah, that's good. That's the part I wanted us to look at. The last sentence is basically saying the same thing. But I wanted to bring this to our attention right away because it says holy brothers. And I wanted to remind us that we are only called this definition of holy because of Jesus. Yeah. And because of who he is and what he's done. So like, if you're anything like me, take a breath, like you're good because of Jesus. And like, that's who we're going to like highlight and look at. And like, we are holy brothers and called that because of Jesus and what he's offered to us. So I just wanted to bring that up from the jump. So I want us to look at verse 6, specifically the second half, but I'll read the whole thing. But Christ is faithful over God's house as a son, and we are faithful if indeed we hold fast to our confidence and our boasting in our hope. So that's saying, like, we get part of this. We are part of the house if we hold fast, hold on to our confidence and our boasting in our hope, which to me was like a weird phrasing. So I looked in my other Bible, and it says, hold firmly to our confidence and the hope in which we glory. And so, like, to me, like, that just reminded me of, like, you're enamored by it, like this hope, like you are in awe of it and you're holding fast because, like, you're remembering who Jesus is and, like, the hope we have. And, like, that hope is the gospel. So, like, as we go through this whole thing, like, just remember, like, you're holy because of Jesus. And, like, we look, the hope we glory in is, like, the hope that brings awe. Like, it's such good news. And so that was really good. And then we're about to get a little heavier, a little deeper into the Old Testament. Verse 8 is quoting Psalms 7 through 11. So if someone will read 8 through 11, and then we are actually going to go look at Psalms 95. So if y'all will just read, if somebody will read chapter 3, verse 7 through 11, and then we'll flip back.
Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. On the day of testing in the wilderness, where your fathers put me to the test and saw my works for 40 years. Therefore, I was provoked with that generation, and said, they always go astray in their heart. They have not known my ways. As I swore my wrath, they shall not enter my rest.
Cool. So we're going to go back to where that is quoted, the first place it's quoted. And that's on page 673 if y'all are not there yet. What? I struggle. So. What? Oh, Psalms 95, 7 through 11. Sorry. You could come grab one if you want. It's okay. You could grab another one. Cool. So I'm actually going to start from like the first verse of 97 or 95, sorry, and then read through. So it says, "Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise with him, to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King, above all gods. In his hands are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are also his. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts at Meribah, as on the day of Massah in the wilderness, when your fathers put me to the test and put me to the proof, though they had seen my work. For 40 years I loathed that generation and said, they are a people who go astray in their heart, and they have not known my ways. Therefore I swore in my wrath, they shall never enter my rest." So the reason why I wanted to read that whole passage is verse 1 through 6. They tell us how to glory in that hope. Like, they tell us how to hold fast and how to, like, remain in holiness and remain in community with him. And, like, that whole holding fast to the glory that we're enamored in. Like, we come to him and we worship him. Like, he's seated on our praises. And, like, all of that is just saying, like, that's telling us how to stay in awe of that glory and that confidence, that hope that we have. Is just a reminder of, like, how do we hold firm to that. So I just thought it was cool that it was in the same place. So this all is actually quoting at the bottom, actually on the side of verse 7, you'll see a key. And at the bottom of the page, if you have a study Bible, you'll see that it is referring to Numbers 13:26 regarding the Israelites' rebellion in the wilderness. Also, if y'all want to jump in at any time, let me know. Also, that is on page 165. But if anything is extra speaking to y'all, just jump in. Okay, so this is just going to give us the context of when it was for some of us. Like, it's really important to look back and like see what these things are actually pointing to so that we aren't confused. Like, so it doesn't look like such gibberish, because then you can see it more clearly. So this is like the actual story of the Israelites not trusting the Lord and and acting in unbelief. So if somebody could read Numbers 13:21 all the way through 14:4, that'll give us a really good glimpse at the story.
So they went up, spied out the land in the wilderness of Zin, to Rehobh, near Lebo-Hamath. They went up into the Negev and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Seshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came to the valley of Eshcol and cut down there a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two of them. They also brought some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster that the people of Israel cut down from there. At the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land, and they came to Moses and Aaron, to all the congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told them, "We came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who dwell on the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the Negev. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the hill country. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea along the Jordan." But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." Then the men who had gone with them said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. For the 14
Through 4, please.
And all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness? Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, "Let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt."
That's so crazy. It brings a lot of context to why the Lord was so angry with them.
Yeah.
And like they did not trust him. And like if we're being real, we could be like, I wouldn't trust him either in that way, because we don't often trust him in our daily life. Like, this sounds like us. Like, this sounds like us, and it sounds like human nature. Like, God had promised them like this land that they had like journeyed for so long, that was going to be like the promised land. And they're like, we cannot. Like, they just start grumbling, and they say like, it would have been better to just die. Like, they just lose trust in the Lord completely. And like I can see that in my life so much, literally day to day. Like my job, I'm like, but did you actually give me this? Like, did you actually say, or even in like looking towards another thing in life, like I'm like, do you actually have anything for me? Am I like actually able to? Yeah. What somebody say? Nothing. What was that? Yeah. 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 Like losing trust or hope in those things. Like he's promised things and then they just like are like, I should have just gone back. Like it would have just been better to stay wherever or to not like trust in like the promises that he's giving. We like just automatically they like, and obviously we can look back and be like, oh, they had like journeyed for a really long time. Like I think we would we could lose trust in God as well, like in that place, but even in our daily lives. And so like the Lord was angry because he didn't like they did not trust him. And like I think we can all find some relation to that. Like, go ahead.
And then like there was like an unforgiveness that the people had, I feel like, towards God for their journey, for their discomfort. Because God did fulfill the promise and did get them out. But it wasn't in the way that they wanted it. They wanted it comfortably. They wanted it immediately.
Yeah.
And so they had this unforgiveness. But it's crazy because they had gotten pomegranates and cluster grapes, like clusters of delicious fruit. They saw the fruit, ate the fruit, had the fruit, brought the fruit. But as soon as they got there, they couldn't forget their unforgiveness. You know what I mean? And that's the report they gave.
Yeah.
But the report didn't say anything about the fruit.
Yeah, literally.
But they had it.
Yeah. They did not like talk about the land that was promised. Like,
In our journey, there's always fruit in what we go through, even if it's small things, there's always something there. But that's sort of like having
Yeah.
optimism mindset instead of a pessimistic mindset. Doesn't mean that your situation is good, in your opinion, you know, it could be better. But if all you focus is on the bad, well, then that fruit just dries up into bad. Like it just there was no fruit to grab, what was the point of giving?
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely have to remember the fruit that's given us great for it because there could be no fruit.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And I think that we're easy, like, we can forget, the first group, you know what I mean, and it's just every day we're going through, and it's like, I see this in form of like, bad self-talk sometimes, and it's so easy for us to go there, and then like not realize because we're discrediting God when we're doing that, because like God is in me, and I'm living through Him, and I can't do it, and whenever I make statements like that, I'm not believing in who He made me to be and what I'm called to do. And it's just a quick mindset thing that happens like repeat multiple times in the day because I've got to convince myself. But I think it's the everyday Christian walk, it just feels like goodness. There are moments, my husband's been employed and I got to go on this trip last weekend and I just literally the whole weekend I was so overwhelmed with like such good emotion. And it was the weirdest thing that I was like, gosh, I have let myself just like get to this second where I couldn't even enjoy it, to where I was like breaking down because so much good was happening and I couldn't help but like worship and thank Him for that. But I thought to myself also on the flip side of that is how long did it take to get here thinking like, oh, working at home, I'm momming by myself.
Yeah.
I have to pick up and take my son to daycare all by myself.
Yeah.
Work at home, and like honestly, my parents have been godsend. I'm not here by myself. Like,
Yeah.
I have so much help and even just mental, awareness now, but like it's only been 2 months.
Yeah.
And so it's just this thing that's chipping away. And I think it's easy for us to like take the pity party on and just like forget that all of that is God. His hands in our lives still at play. But
Yeah.
people are in such a season, but it's like, come and do it.
Yeah, and trust.
There's still a hope though.
Mhm.
And society talks a lot about how, oh, the end is near, we had our place of
The vid.
whatever recently, and so we're in the end times, but then we look back at the people in the Old Testament, like, we're not better, we're not any worse off than the people then.
Yeah.
Because we see ourselves in it as well. So really, yes, we have a lot of room to improve, but are we, like, really that far from God?
Yeah.
Or are we just like the people in the Old Testament who struggle to remain focused on the end, and they focus on being judged, but then they focus on him and they fell away, and they focus on him and they fell away.
Yeah.
But unlike what I feel like modern people are talking about, is that we are so far from God right now, and our society is so far away. Like, are we really compared to people 2,000 years ago?
Literally. Yeah. I agree.
Not even that, we can all agree on
Yeah.
that. Are we that far off track?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and like Jesus is near. I think it's crazy what Daniela said, like that they didn't even like. I had caught that too, like that they didn't even talk about the fruit, like they didn't even saw that what they had like experienced. They just talked about like what their fears were, and I feel like God is God, so He could have like just not shown them anything and just required them to trust Him, and it would have been justified. But He gave them like fruit and like tangible evidence of the goodness of the land, and they still were like, let me focus on my problems. And like, if we're being real, like the Lord could just be like, trust me, Marissa, and where I'm leading you. But it's like He is actually giving you fruit in every to trust Him, because He's not just like requiring like an empty obedience out of you. Yeah.
Their heart shows they have the fruit, yet they still distorted the truth. And I don't think that we're far away from that, what's happening literally right now in the world.
Yeah.
That literally, you cannot see the fruit in many believers right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, you know, and that, like, our hope and us carrying our cross through this season, and us, like, you know, being there for the sick, and it's just wherever you stand, regardless, our true hearts are being showed when we're pressed in fire,
Mhm.
and, you know,
Yeah.
literally left with how our actions are, and we are not far removed from it.
No, not at all.
We have all this fruit of what God has done, but yet we still are hopeless and wandering in a land where we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And remember what happened 52 days when they crossed the Red Sea, they built an idol.
Yeah.
That's 52 days. They forgot what God had done with them. And we are not far away from that at all.
Dang. Yeah.
We were given as a society to grow, the opportunity to reset and recenter ourselves. And I don't even think it was 52 days after the original outbreak back in 2020. We were like, we're bored with this. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, that's true. That's facts.
Am I wrong?
That's facts.
Okay, so like that's where I see a lot of parallels with this, like this specific chapter.
Yeah.
Them coming back, like,
Yeah.
on one hand, but man, we did not learn in thousands of years. We could not have been better at the same time, like we were not that far off. God still loved them enough to send His Son as the ultimate sacrifice for us.
Yeah.
So there's still.
Yeah. And like, I want to challenge us all. Like, yes, this like so much applies to like our global world and like our America world that is so broken, but like it also applies to our everyday. Like, and like, I know we all love to grumble, but like that the Lord is going to take care of us and He's going to provide and that He's faithful. Like, even something so little that's coming to my mind is like, we all love to like complain about gas prices. Like, they are what they are, but like, do we trust him to take care of us? Like, do we trust him if we walk a little bit, it's going to be okay? Or like if we carpool, it's going to be all right? Like ride our bikes? Like,
I mean, Jesus walked 20 miles a day, so I feel like we can do that.
I feel like we can.
Especially close.
I mean, so many cities, I can see them.
Yes. Maybe not.
Yeah. 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 I just feel like it applies to everything. Like, look for the fruit that he is showing because he is giving it, because he's a merciful God. He could just be like, just trust me, but he's not doing that because he loves us. Which brings me to our next point. If y'all will flip back to Hebrews with me, Hebrews 3. Jesus is faithful and God is merciful, so there's still today. Like in the passage, it talks about, it kind of makes it confusing, and it's like, and God rested on the seventh day from his, sorry, let me tell y'all where I'm at. In chapter 4, verse 3, it starts like kind of breaking it down, and it goes roundabout, but it ends up making sense. But it says, for we who have believed enter that rest. As he said, as I swore in my wrath, they shall never enter my rest. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the earth, for he has somewhere spoken of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from his works. And again in the passage, he said, they shall not enter my rest, which sounds like what he's saying, but we just keep reading. Since therefore it remains to some to enter it, and those who formerly received the good news failed to enter it because of disobedience, he appoints a certain day today, saying, though through David so long afterward, in the words already quoted, today if you hear his voice and do not harden your hearts. And then it goes back to his conversation. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken of another day later on. So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever has entered God's rest, he also rested from his works as God did from his. So like it's saying like there's still a today. Like while it is today, don't harden your hearts. And like we looked at Numbers, but then it's quoted again. So he's saying like if Joshua would have been able to give them rest, God would not have spoken of another today later on. So he spoke of it again through David in Psalms. And then again, like the writer of Hebrews is speaking again. Like there is still a today because God is faithful. Like he has not like said time's up yet. So like there is still a today to rest in what he has given us, the hope that he has given us, the gospel, the message of salvation. Like that's still today. So that's where we can take it and apply it to today because he is still faithful today. So they failed to enter because of disbelief/disobedience. But like what I want us to think about is that belief brings obedience. So like the more we like wonder and are enamored by him and his glory, like that is what is going to bring us obedience. So it's easy to be like, well, I have sinned, so I'm going to miss out on his rest too. But like what can differentiate us from the Israelites is trusting him, believing and obeying. But that only comes by like knowing him, looking for the fruit, like resting in what he's doing. And like just a thing, it talks about like God rested, and that seems kind of random. And that's talking about like the creation story. But like God didn't rest on the seventh day because he was tired. He rested like with assurance that what was done was what was needed to be done. So like he invites us into that rest by communing with him, by like what we saw in Psalms where it says like, I will sing praises to you. I will know you. Like I will commune with you. I will look towards like where your hand is, like where you're putting that fruit. So he invites us into that rest with a belief that what he has already done on the cross, like that gospel message, like that he conquered it all. is enough. Like, and that he is mighty to be in like the perfect seat of control. Like, that's what can separate us from like not heeding to today. And like today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. And like what that looks like is knowing that like he's already done it and that we can literally rest in the fact that he's already done it. Which brings us back to like, that's why I was saying like you could go so many places with this, but like the gospel is saying so little and so much at the same time. Like it's so simple. It just comes back to Jesus. But like you can imply that and like you can dig deep in so many different ways and like see what that obedience looks like in your life and like what he's calling us to in the Bible. But like at the end of it, it's like he's done it and we trust in that. And we only trust in that by knowing him. And that's what brings obedience in our lives. So it's like, it's so simple. Yeah. And trusting him to be God. That's heavy. Which brings me to verse 11. It says, let us therefore strive to enter that rest so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and spirit and joints and marrow, and discerning the thoughts and the intentions of the heart. And no creature is hidden from his side, but all are naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. That verse, like, used to scare me. I feel like it was only used as like a fear tactic. Like, you're trying to get around it, but like God can see you and he knows, and like you're trying to hide from him, but he knows. And it was like such a like a fear thing, and like, oh, like if he sees me, it's not gonna be enough. It's not gonna be beautiful. But like in reading this today, like focusing on all he's done, like that's a promise. Like that's assuring. Like the fact that his word, this word, but also who he is, it can cut like between joint and marrow, like sharper than a two-edged sword. Like that is not a threat. Like that is a promise. Like that leads to the fact that he knows deeply, like he repairs, he transforms. Like that's the hope that he can like change us from being scared of like looking into the Bible, like me, to like having full assurance that he can change your mind. Like he can actually make you a different being, which is just wild. Like, go ahead.
What I love about that is that it says it goes through all the things and the intentions of the heart. And again, going back to our definition of heart, my will, my emotions, my desires, my impulses, my feelings. Because again, we just look at it like I said, it's this fear tactic that's thrown out. And it's like, hey, God knows, he can see everything, and you're trash. And it's like, well, there's no hope there.
Yeah.
But if this word, like you said, is active right now, and living and breathing, all the way down to the intentions of my impulses,
Yeah.
all the way down to the intentions of my desire, the intentions of my will, legitimately, he is here. And it comes right back to, like you just said, Jesus is here to transform how I am.
Yeah.
All day, every day. And that is the greatest thing, because I cannot do this myself. And this is what he's here to do, to literally change my life in him for the better.
Yeah, I'm freaking out. I'm like, my hands are sweating a little bit. Literally. It's so crazy because it's only like, I feel like the fear of hearing this is like, you're like, dang, I'm the same as the Israelites. So what's the hope for me? Like, he's also going to be angry at me, and he's also going to say that I'm never allowed to enter into his rest. But Jesus. I know, right? Could have sat it down in front of the table. LOL.
Like, you should try to think about it. I think we've all been programs and think like, oh gosh, I think it's so leave them. They were naked, they didn't know, they didn't care, but he saw like all the innards of their hearts and all the things,
Yeah.
separation. So when I used to see videos too, I'd be like, oh gosh, no, that's uncomfortable. But like I think if we strive to feel that sense of nakedness in terms of surrender or things like that, I feel like that should give your heart rate more peace because like we're being restored to what happened before the fall.
Yeah.
So, like, that's super powerful.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say about like the Israelites. Like we can so easily like be like, but I am them too. So like, will God also be angry at me? But like when we look at the hope of who Jesus is and like what he's already done, like they were invited into like a promised land of rest. Like we are invited into like eternal life rest right now. Like in him being all that we need him to be right now. And he, like I said, he's like the perfect one to be God. So like let's let him be God and let's look to where he is leading. And like this at the very end of that it says joints of marrow and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart, like Rafer said. Like that used to scare me because I was like, I'm not good enough for Jesus. Like I'm not good enough. Like I find myself as the Israelites were, like with lack of trust, like with lack of, trusting him because I continue to lose sight of his plan and to lose sight of his word. But like today when I was reading that, like he discerns and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. Like he knows us and leads us in understanding to know him, but also know ourselves. Like I don't know if y'all have ever been like, I wish I just knew what I needed to do or what I wanted to do, and I feel so like mentally chaotic. But like the word, who he is, like trust in Jesus is like what brings us to peace in ourselves.
Well, if we take the word naked right here, it says 11:31. So if you go to page 2073, obviously it's like without clothing, but if you keep reading down, it's implying poverty and want, being stripped. And then it says, and metaphorically uncovered, open, figuratively spoken of the soul as discomfort of the body, which has been clothed, spoken of anything that's taken alone, described as separate from everything else, naked, merely bare. So like, just literally completely exposed to the Lord. No masks, nothing, just like completely, like, so it is naked, there's that form in the Bible, but if you do the metaphorically definition, it's just like presence and possible. And it was the whole thing, I agree, I'm sure it could be here, but metaphorically, the nakedness is, it said like, and it said spiritually, looking as, poverty and need.
Mm-hmm.
So being in need.
Yeah.
So not only are we exposed, but it's because we are in need of that two-edged sword. Because standing alone, we are literally dressed up like clowns. But we need that to be like spiritually exposed to the Lord, and we need that two-edged sword to transform us, to truly make us whole and what He intended us to be.
Yeah.
Spiritually connected and to be one with God.
Yeah. And because of Jesus, it's not scary. Like it's already done. Like because I like know him and I come to trust him, and that brings obedience. Like it's okay to lay naked before him. It's okay to be exposed because like I don't have anything to fear or to level up to. Like I don't have to like come to this place that everybody has said, like, Marissa, you have to be this good to be the Lord's, like to be able to stand exposed to him. But like because of Jesus, like we can stand exposed, and like he will show us the fruit to lead us where he's taking us. But
And as the metaphor of body of Christ, what our body should be, naked in front of the Lord. As
Yeah.
the body of Christ, that's how we should stay.
girl, yeah, which leads like back to, I didn't even get to share this because it was so good, or like there were so many things, but in chapter 3 he does like this small part, verse 12. He said, take care, brothers, lest there be any of you lest there be in any of you unbelieving heart, leading you to fall away from the living God. But exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. So like that's where the body comes in, like exhorting each other, encouraging each other. Like that word exhort has like such a deep, it's encouraging, but it's so much more. And so like that's where the body comes in. But like because of Jesus, we get to like joyfully do that, and like without shame and like without fear. We just get to trust in what he's doing. And therefore, because of Jesus, God does not look at us in the same way where he says, like, I won't let you into my rest. Like I've already, because of what he provided through Jesus, he has already like invited us into eternal rest, but like now. Like we get to experience that like today because of who Jesus is. Like this moment. Yeah. 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 And as the body, like we get to help each other decipher, and like we get to like experience the Lord like transforming one another and ourselves like together. Like this girl I listened to when she was talking about this, she was like, this is like, I guess I just always thought of it as like a cutting like that doesn't get repaired, but it's like this is the most magical surgeon who is like so gifted and created you, transforming you. And like we get to do that together. And that's where like the urgency comes from. Like while it's still today, like do this together, from the littlest thing of like my job or gas prices or like COVID or like Roe v. Wade, like all of that, like whatever is going on in our world, like we, because of Jesus, like we get to experience rest. Yeah. Dang. Well, I'm going to invite us into the holy place. The study has really good points when it looks about gospel glimpses, whole Bible connections, all of this. So you guys can read over that as you study this week if you'd like to. But yeah, I just want to encourage us to like look at our lives right now and see the places that we are not looking for fruit or not trusting the Lord, and also being so grateful that he has already done it. So we just get to enter that rest, like right now, whatever that looks like. So anyway, thanks for going through this with me. I love y'all so much. This is tight. What'd you say?